What the fuck are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be recording Steve's Wrestling Ramble?
He sent me back.
What do you mean he sent you back?
Apparently I was too intense for him.
What the fuck did you do now?
I don't know. You know how he is. He sent me an email wishing me the best in my future endeavors and ended it with, "And as always, take care." Fucking asshole.
Oh, Mom.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. This is episode 188. I'm your Mark of Marks, Credo.
I am Minority Mike.
And I, of course, I'm the social assassin, Angry Cooter. Bitches.
Another day, another dollar. Guys, another wrestling podcast. If you're joining us today, stay tuned. We got Brandon Kirk from CZW. Going to talk a little bit about some death matches and what he's doing over here, wrestling in those death matches, because there's just a lot of shit that he does that I don't think a lot of guys probably would do. So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the death matches, but I respect everybody that does it because it's not for me. I got the chance to actually talk to Mr. Kirk himself at the NEW show. He's a real cool dude, man. I let him use my phone charger because his phone was dying, and we were just, photobombing people's pictures, which was pretty hilarious.
If you got a photo with Lanny Poffo, they're probably, look in the background, they're probably in there. So.
We're there. We're in there somewhere.
Well, guys, we're still on the same show. Nobody's been drafted. We didn't have no shake-up. We are what we are, but...
you mean Steve Coplane's not coming to AWP?
No one's coming to AWP.
I told my mom she was getting sent to Steve's Wrestling Ramble. She wasn't too happy about it.
That's why you guys got to stay tuned to the end of each show. You never know what's going to happen at the very end. No, guys, the shake-up happened. A lot of people... the landscape changed. And I think it changed for the good. I mean, there's nothing really on here that I'm like, oh, they went over there or whatnot. Like, all in all, I think the shakeup was pretty good. I'm kind of excited to see what we're going to get out of this. So maybe just if we don't have to list everybody that traded places, but I mean, anybody stand out to you guys of things that are that's going to be exciting to watch on the next year or so on WWE, Raw and SmackDown? What do you guys like out of this whole shakeup?
I like the fact that I never have to watch Raw again. Anybody that I'm absolutely interested in watching, for the most part, has pretty much all moved over to SmackDown Live. I mean, Samoa Joe, your Hardy, you got yourself Gallows and Anderson. They could reunite with AJ Styles. Just a plethora of awesome matches. Like Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe. My God, like I'm in heaven right now. And I want you guys to take a quick look. I was talking to Mike about this earlier. If you look at the list of the people who went over to Raw, okay, anybody who would be a bigger name, like a title contender, so to speak, everybody's a heel. It's like they're stacking up talent just to go up against your one face. I mean, outside of a Seth Rollins and a Finn Balor, I mean, Roman's going to be your top guy, and we've just really drafted a shitload of heels, so we have no choice but to cheer for Roman because everybody else is a heel except for Roman. And I'm just like, fuck you. I mean, it's going to suck. I'm not going to get to see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but I, for one, will never have to watch Raw again, and I'm so happy.
Wow.
I think one thing that stood out to me the most is something that a lot of people are looking past, and that's the fact that Chad Gable is on the Raw.
Yes.
Yeah. They split up him and Shelton Benjamin, which I am completely okay with because I, for one, am a huge Chad Gable fan. I think this guy is amazing in the ring. And I think on Raw, if they book him correctly, I think he could be up there with guys like Seth Rollins and a Finn Balor. And even he could definitely hang with a guy like Roman. But just be in that upper threshold of superstars. I just hope that they don't, use him as a guy like a Goldust or on that level. I mean, take advantage of what you have. I mean, you gave away the majority of your top stars and your good stars of SmackDown. You got gold in Chad Gable. That's your sleeper pick right there. So just take advantage of that one. please.
I agree on that 100%. And, at first when I heard that he was going to Raw, I'm like, are they going to try to put back American Alpha? Because, Jason Jordan's out. He's still injured. We don't know. He might not even end up back on Raw. He could go to SmackDown. Who knows? There's probably a few other people who are probably injured. I'm not sure where they're going. But, yeah, man, I want to see this. I want to see this solo run by Chad Gable. Like, they definitely need to let him run and just go with what he does. And honestly, I thought, American Alpha was going to be a tag team to last for a lot longer than what it actually did. So I'm kind of curious what they have in store for like a Chad Gable. But another thing I'm excited about is this whole Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre team up. Everybody's been talking online. They're calling it the HBK Diesel 2.0, just because the height difference. And man, Drew, it's amazing how big Drew is. Like you don't understand it until he like actually put him up against next to a guy like Dolph Ziggler or whatnot, just to compare the sizes. But hey, man, talk about a guy who's come a long way from he was at the head of the roster, bumped down to the 3-man band, took some time off, came back, NXT champion, and now he's back on the main roster. I'm excited and hopeful that this little team up might be something different, especially for Ziggler, something they can actually do something with and not just,
Whoa. Hold up a second. Listen. You just flew right by this whole Chad Gable thing. You're not looking at what to me is great. Shelton Benjamin now gets a singles run and arguably had the best match on SmackDown this week with a Jeff Hardy. The old timers showing the Young Bucks how it's done. I always did love me some Shelton Benjamin. Just saying.
Shelton Benjamin is just, a talent on its own level. I can't take anything away from Shelton Benjamin, but when you really look at it and you look at age, it's like, okay, when the Patriots drafted Tom Brady in, what was it, the second round of the draft? No one was picking Tom Brady, but the Patriots did, and look what happened. I think this is your Tom Brady, Chad Gable. This is the pick that pretty much everybody looked past, and Ross scooped him up. That's your Tom Brady right there, in my opinion. I feel like in the future he's going to be a future world champion, but they got to book him correctly. Shelton Benjamin is always going to be Shelton Benjamin. He's always going to be on that level, and I can never take anything away from him. But I'm looking at the future. I'm looking more at Chad Gable.
I'm going to say this too. Let me throw one more couple little honorable mentions out there. I was so happy to see that Sanity is going over to SmackDown, and Andrade Cien Almas is now going to go up to the main roster. After the night after WrestleMania is usually when you get your call-ups, and these two, four guys. Maybe is Nikki Cross coming too? I don't know, but all these people getting moved up to the main roster. Every division on SmackDown got beefed up. The tag division, the women's division. Not to mention, just your undercard guys who could, whatever belt ends up on SmackDown, whether it's the IC or US title, because, at the greatest Royal Rumble, they're literally facing up against guys from, the opposite brand. So those titles could switch again.
No, take it back, though, because we still didn't get to my pick with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. Any thoughts on that, though? The whole team up with the new HBK Diesel?
I want to see how Drew does on the main roster. I love Triple H's tweet. He doesn't want to be the chosen one this time. He just wants to take it. This is his opportunity. You put him up with somebody with a Ziggler, he can get a little bit of a rub being back on the main roster. These newer fans might not really be all that familiar with him. So it's a great way to get him reacquainted. And you know what? This is a really good pairing. I like what they did this week. It's interesting, but you know how I am. I don't like to be too hopeful when it comes to possibilities, because it could just as well be a shitstorm.
Yeah. Here's my concern about SmackDown. They got SmackDown definitely won the shakeup hands down. They got some of the best talent.
And why is everybody saying that Raw did? That's what I don't understand.
Well, you still got Finn, you still got Seth over there. You still got I think it's balanced a little bit. But
they have a good roster, but when it comes to like the picks and the shakeup, I think SmackDown got the best of it. But this is my concern. Now you have all these stars, and like you said, Cooter, that they beefed up their roster. You guys got to remember, it's a 2-hour show compared to Raw being 3 hours. So my concern is like everything on SmackDown, You're not going to get that same gold that you would if you had that extra hour with that beefed up roster. I feel like everything is going to be rushed. And then not only that, you have combined pay-per-views now. So how much time are you going to get out of these guys? And creative, they're like fucking those monkeys hitting the fucking computers trying to figure out things. I mean, you put them in a corner right now. What the fuck are they going to do?
Well, Mike, this is right up your alley. This is what you like. You might not have to see these guys every week. Like what you loved about NXT was the fact that you don't see these guys every single week. You get a mixed bag every week. So, I mean, some of these guys maybe get a little too overexposed, and maybe that's a good thing that it's a 2-hour show. And who knows? Eventually, should Raw and SmackDown go to a different network, maybe they'll both be 2-hour shows. Both shows have an abundance of talent. It's like, obviously, I'm curious who's going to get lost in the shuffle this time around.
Well, Cooter, you said Sanity, too. Are you a little upset that Nikki Cross didn't come with Sanity?
They didn't say that she's not?
Well, they just only mentioned Eric Young, Killian Dane, and Alexander Wolf.
Yeah,
but I
she
think
wasn't mentioned.
And on NXT, it kind of looks like they're setting it up to go against the new NXT Women's Champion. So I think maybe Nikki Cross is hanging back for that. But I don't know. It's a big group. I guess maybe we'll have to see what happens with her. But
there's a lot of women up there, and there's not a lot of spots for them. I would rather see her stay in NXT. I mean, I loved her in that stable with Sanity, but on the other hand, I'd rather see her in a program where she's going to be used and not get lost in the shuffle, because she's not the typical women's wrestler. She's more of the brawler type. She's not really flashy, so I like to see her in a spot where she's at least going to get some TV time and used.
Well, you talked about this, guys, though. You talked about all these rosters. They beefed them up. Episodes ago, I've talked about belts, championships, or whatever. I love championships. I love a lot of championships. Not too crazy, but...
Yeah, you just hate their fucking names, Credo. Yeah, we know.
And where they're from. But, so, hey, you got the Universal and then the United States. And then you got the WWE Championship and then the Intercontinental. Yes, we have tag team championships too, but does there need to be another mid-card championship? Because I feel like the mid-card is just an overabundance of guys. Or do you think it's okay? I think it's just okay for some guys to they don't need the gold around their waist.
Well,
I don't know.
Fredo, not everybody needs is going to be in the world title picture. It's good to have these guys on the undercard on both shows have something to chase. Otherwise, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
I think if you put another title there, it becomes what boxing is, where it starts getting confusing. Yeah. There's so many titles, and it's just what is what. And in a lot of things, like New Japan has so many titles and so many divisions too, and it's just you have a never championship, you have their Intercontinental Champion, you now have a United States Championship.
What is that never championship? Isn't that for guys who aren't even signed but somehow have the title?
It's hard to explain. We'll have to go into detail about that another time. But they're just so you don't want to have too many titles. I'm fine with just that workhorse title, and then your main title for singles. I'm completely okay with that.
All right. I mean, a lot of things are happening, shakeups. Some surprising ones, I think. Not surprising, but Mike Kanellis. Mike Kanellis debuted on a pay-per-view with his wife, Maria Kanellis. And then there was literally 2 more appearances after that, and then he was gone. Went to rehab, then his wife had a baby, and now he's kind of back. He's been lost in the shuffle. It's one of those weird things where you get signed to the main roster, and then just shit happens. It's happened to a few people, so I'm kind of curious if or what they're going to do with Mike Kanellis, because he's an incredible talent. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. I just, I don't want to be pushed around to be that jobbing that guy, because a lot of these people that they shook up, they announced it on WWE.com or Twitter or whatnot. So I get it that they spread it around so everybody's looking all over to see who went where. But
more importantly, does Maria come back with him in that beautiful, luscious keister of hers?
Well, she's watching Baby Kanellis now. I don't know. I'll have to see.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. You never know.
I don't know how you guys felt, but the one thing I did not like about this shakeup is I missed the dramatics of it. How they had that automated thing where you count it down, and I don't like how they just pop up on the screen and just show up. And and just show up in the arena. I like
no
the
suspense.
dramatics.
You like
Yeah,
the
there's no-
suspense to it. Yeah.
I like the suspense to it, and they just don't do that. The past 2 shakeups, they haven't done that. And to me, I mean, it takes away the suspense. It takes away a little bit from it.
And then didn't they used to do like it was like 2 guys versus each other, then whoever wins gets a pick or something like that? They didn't do that really.
They did that, and then they did the lottery, which lottery was the thing they did on the screen where like a random superstar would be selected on who's going where.
Because I think in the back of my mind when they kept seeing people come out, I was like, are they really on Raw? Are they really on SmackDown? Or are they going to have to like fight? So, but I guess as soon as you showed up on SmackDown, that's it. You're on SmackDown or Raw or whatnot. So,
well, not
that was
necessarily. You got to remember that one time where I think it was in the same show. John Cena was drafted to SmackDown, but then drafted back to Raw in the same fucking show.
But and you bring that up too, Credo, about how like are they drafted? Are they here? Well, they kept saying how both Raw and SmackDown rosters were backstage. Like Michael Cole hammered that in. So to me, it's like a super show. Like, you know, if someone's coming out that's on the SmackDown roster, well, you're promoting that both rosters are on the show.
yeah.
So to me, it's like, I mean, give me an incentive, or tell me that this guy is like drafted. Don't just have him pop out. Like, give me the stimulator, give me the lottery, give me something.
You know, definitely a lot of fresh faces, a lot of new talent. Talent moved around. I can't wait. It's definitely it gives us something fresh to watch each and every week to see what happens. But besides the draft and the shakeup and the whatever it is, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world of wrestling. Kinda. So let's get right into the week that was, shall we? All right, guys. Who's sad? Cena Nikki split after 6 years. Is somebody waiting for I told you so? Or, you know, they were supposed to get married May 5th. That was very soon. But that's it. It happens. I mean, you think if you're going to propose to somebody on one of the biggest events of the year out of anywhere, it's like the Super Bowl. You proposed, and then you couldn't go through it.
Are you questioning Cena's sincerity, Credo?
And then
Come
you go,
on.
man. So was it all for the dramatics? Was it just for ratings for Total Bellas and Total Divas and what else? Is he just stuck in that TV world where he just kind of went along with it and realized he really didn't want to be married, didn't want kids?
Apparently he's devastated, Credo. And Nikki's the one who allegedly, according to the interwebs, as Mike likes to say, broke it off. But you know who's laughing his fucking balls off right now? Who was right since day one? He's on that day one-ish. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. All that shit that The Miz talked is absolutely true. So I'm very happy for The Miz. He's been proven right. It's great.
So they allegedly, I say, are broken up. Correct? Like that's the word. I'm looking for the post that Nikki Bella posted on Instagram. Where is it? Okay, here it is. After much contemplation and 6 years of being together, Nikki Bella and John Cena announced today their decision to separate as a couple. Okay, so I don't know why this.
First of all, you know she didn't write that. Contemplate is too big of a word for Nikki Bella.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's get that shit out.
Did they separate as a couple and become a holy union? I mean, someone brought that up on Twitter, and I read that, and they might be mind fucking us right now. They separated as a couple, and maybe they secretly got married. Who knows? I don't know. We don't know these things, but someone threw out that theory the other day on Twitter, and it made me think. It's like these motherfuckers, if they did that, they're fucking smart.
Could it also just be a swerve for Total Bellas?
That could be it too.
It was everywhere, national news. Like it was a big deal, and for that to happen, I don't know.
Still, have always been very good at blurring the lines. You never know. There could be John Cena on Total Bellas trying to win her back. I mean, dude, they had this whole fucking season mapped out of what they were going to do, and now it's all for shits.
I don't know. It's
we'll see.
We'll see what happens, Mr. Movie Star. Guys, sad news though. Bruno Sammartino dead at 82. I don't know if you're there, Mike. When you were there, I was there. We saw actually get inducted into the WrestleMania 29 Hall of Fame. That's the only time I really ever saw Bruno Sammartino, and You never met him up in person, never met him up close. That was the closest I got, was to see his Hall of Fame induction happen. So a little bit sad. I thought, he's one of those guys to where you didn't think he'd probably die till he was like 100 or something. Very in shape, even at 80 too. It was a sad thing, sad time in the world of wrestling.
God damn. All the great matches. I remember his feud with superstar Billy Graham. I've seen matches with him and the original Sheik. I mean, these are just classics. I mean, dude, him and what the hell, Larry Zbyszko at Shea Stadium. My God.
I have to find that. We actually had Larry on the show like our first year, and we talked to him about that. I'll have to find the clips for everybody out there and play it, but it's on our page somewhere.
That feud with Larry Zbyszko you just brought up, that was one of the best feuds in that era.
Oh yeah.
It was like the teacher and the student, I believe, is what they considered it. And then when Zbyszko turned on Bruno, it was like the biggest like stab in the back. It was great. I mean, I didn't even see it coming, man. Did they say how he died? Did they state anything about it, or are they just keeping a hush on it for now?
I don't think anything has came out about that. I mean,
came out?
No, they usually, like in obits, just say of natural causes. Like, I mean, you never hear about somebody who overdosed on drugs in their obituary. Yes, he overdosed on heroin.
That's an obvious. I don't think.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just say usually of natural causes or whatever. I mean, that's really
that's just a huge loss for the world of professional wrestling, for everybody. I mean, I didn't grow up in the Bruno era, but I've gotten to relive vicariously through other people and got to watch videos, and I understood what Bruno meant to professional wrestling. So it is a loss. I look at it as, and it's sad because I never saw it coming. And he just reestablished that relationship with the WWE, and it's a terrible loss. My condolences to the whole entire family. It sucks. It really does.
Well, for sure. A lot of memories out there with Bruno, especially, one of the longest reigning champions of all time. A 7-year run, was it? 7 years?
7 years.
Probably more. I think one of them was like 8.5, wasn't it?
It's crazy to think about that nowadays. But, I mean, back then it was a whole different world. Crazy, guys, crazy. The only thing that's coming up really, and we just did a WrestleMania special. We talked about other pay-per-views and whatnot, but guys, and now I'm gonna have some beef about this a little bit later on. But greatest Royal Rumble is next Friday. I think last week we were talking about the Rusev saga. He was taken off. We didn't know what was gonna happen, and then he was put back on the match. They literally announced. It was Taker versus Rusev in a casket match. Literally one day after that, it was Taker versus Jericho in a casket match. Promoted it everywhere. Then another day after that, they went back to Rusev. What the hell? What's why? What's going on there that they had to do that? But the greatest Royal Rumble is next week. It's not even the greatest, it's just greatest Royal Rumble. Guys, are you psyched for this? Because it's going to be happening live on the WWE Network. You can see it live. Somebody had money for this.
What was so funny about the whole Rusev thing is he did what Kevin Owens did, where he just removed all mentions of WWE from his bio on Twitter. And what was the tweet that he had? "Bury me slowly, brother," or something along those lines.
Softly.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, if you guys look at this, he sent out another tweet. He put a Throwback Thursday, and he has a picture of Jericho.
I'm looking at his Twitter now.
Rusev, man, is a great guy to follow on Twitter.
He was he really made us all seem like he was done. There was a couple tweets that he was putting out there as if because Lana technically was still part of the company, and Rusev was making us try to believe that he wasn't. So he was sending out tweets to Lana about, what time am I picking you up at the Nashport airport, or at the airport, and all that stuff, just to make it seem like he wasn't doing anything. It was just small stuff like that, and he just puts out. I mean, the guy is Kevin Owens is the man on Twitter, but Rusev is definitely underrated on Twitter with everything he does. And now he's back in this match. I don't know exactly what the purpose of this was. I just know that Rusev is back in this match, and I think he understands his role. I don't like his role because Rusev Day is the biggest act right now, and I think a win over Taker would be the best thing for Rusev in his career, but it's not going to go that way, unfortunately, because this is the casket match, and this is Taker's specialty, and they're in another country where they're going to probably worship Taker.
Oh, God, Rusev is the greatest. With hashtag Raw having 2 Bobs, now I predict one loses his first name. Who do you think that will be? Happy. Hashtag Rusev Day. Hashtag I'm back. Such a fucking scrub. I love it.
Oh, man. Guys,
this is a stacked card, though. And I'm like, I don't even... Samoa Joe and... Was it Seth Rollins? Not Seth Rollins. Yeah, it is Seth Rollins.
Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor in a ladder match for the IC title.
Cena versus Triple H. Got the casket match. Taker versus Rusev. AJ Styles battles Shinsuke Nakamura in a WrestleMania rematch. Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal, United States. And then Raw Tag Team Championship, you got The Bar versus Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy.
That's a given right there. We already know who's winning that match. And you know what? And the fact that The Bar got, shaken up and thrown over the SmackDown, that just kind of ruins that tag match for me. Like, I don't want to watch it because The Bar is not going to be your Raw Tag Team Champions when they just got sent over the SmackDown.
Yes.
So it's simply going to be, we already know who's winning that match. Now, you have a Raw guy versus a SmackDown guy for the U.S. title and a Raw... one SmackDown guy and two SmackDown guys and 2 Raw guys for the IC title match. So, I mean...
Once you watch one, the other one's ruined.
Yeah, you could flip-flop those titles, but let's just say... So, technically, Jeff Hardy is on SmackDown.
Right.
And Jinder wins that match. So, technically, right now, you have the IC title and the US title both on Raw. So, you know that Raw title, that the IC title is going to change hands because they're not going to have both those titles on the same brand. So either The Miz or Samoa Joe is getting that title, and I'll put my money on The Miz for that one.
I think the only way that you kind of at least get rid of a little disbelief is the singles match has to go first. Because if you have 2 Raw and 2 SmackDown for the ladder match, all right, say somebody from, say Hardy wins, then somebody from Raw is going to win the ladder match. So, but there's multiple people from Raw, so you don't know. So it doesn't completely ruin it if they do it in that order. It's kind of a clusterfuck, but hey, it's Saudi Arabia. What the fuck do you want?
All right. I have to do this. Greatest.
Speak to me, Credo.
Greatest Royal Rumble has just made the list.
Oh no, here we go.
It's on the list. It's hurting my mind reading this and looking at it on paper because it's greatest Royal Rumble, not the greatest Royal Rumble. It's just greatest Royal Rumble. All I picture is like some fucking millionaire Saudi in a room being like, I want to call it greatest Royal Rumble. I don't know that's how you talk in Saudi or whatever, but it's like, no. And I feel like they're getting so much money for this. They're like, we give you $2 trillion to bring WWE here. And it's like, oh, fuck it, whatever you want to call it, we're going to do it. The fucking name is pissing me off. Greatest Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble just happened in January. You're going to give this much money to put on a show in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and you're not going to even give it like a fucking new name? So, like, call it like the Saudi Arabia fucking Mania or something. There you go.
Can I have a request?
What?
I want Credo to be the Saudi guy talking to Mike as Vince McMahon, trying to get WWE over to Saudi Arabia to do a show.
Before you go there, what I want to know is this show sold out?
I don't know yet.
The attendance, did they sell out? Because it seemed like the WWE has been trying so hard by throwing all these matches on there for it to be sold out. Because it's a big stadium they're fucking putting this show on.
And there's no women on it, too. So there's no women matches.
And they're going to get backlash for that one because they're promoting this women's revolution and they're going to a country that the women aren't treated correctly.
That's just going to happen. And it's going to happen like days before. And then because it was Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss wrestled in something, but I know
Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. And I'm not looking at a map. I don't fucking know where everything is, but I mean, they had to wear like covered up to their wrists and then their ankles or whatever. They wore like spandex covering their body, but that's going to be a backlash, man. I'll tell you though. Does that not bother you? I'm still going back to that Greatest Royal Rumble. That pisses me off. The name. I don't know.
It doesn't really do anything for me. I
Greatest.
don't know. But I did, going back to the women thing real quick, I did hear something that the women aren't allowed to compete, but women are allowed to attend the show, but they have to get permission from their male counterpart.
Oh, that's going to go great.
They have to
press.
have like written permission or some shit like that just to get out. Wow.
So let's see if I could sell you this idea of the Greatest Royal Rumble, Vince. Can we do this? Call me into your office or something. How we do this?
I don't know. Let's just see.
No, you're the customer. You have to call Vince.
All right, I'm calling you. The phone's ringing.
Oh, this is Kevin Dunn, Vince Phones.
Hello, hi. This is Arkari from Saudi Arabia. Put on Vince McMahon, man.
Hold on a second, sir.
Hello. Hey, Vinny Macaroni. Hey, how you doing? It's Raburskra from Saudi Arabia. I got an idea. Greatest Royal Rumble. Greatest. Do you like? I give you 700 million to host Greatest Royal Rumble in hometown. What do you say?
Damn it, let's go.
700 million, 2 camels, and 7 wives. You get Greatest Royal Rumble over here, and we make money.
We have to have an HLA match.
And Roman must pose.
Women against Roman Reigns. And Roman defeats, and he has to win the Women's Raw title. Yeah.
No. We don't accept women in Saudi Arabia without permission, of course. No women on the card. Give me a 20-man battle royal.
Women's Revolution.
No. Give me 30-man battle royal. 30.
Women's Revolution.
No.
That's the thing.
No. How about 40-man battle royal?
How much money we're talking?
All right, 50, and that's it. 50-man Greatest Royal Rumble match in the history.
Women, let's do it.
All right.
Well done, gentlemen.
All right, so that's how it all went down, guys. Believe it or not, we had the inside dirt on that one. So I believe they got the.
I don't think that was my best Vince McMahon because
No,
I'm
definitely
under the
not.
weather.
For 700.
So I apologize.
For 700 million, 7 cows, or no, 7 wives and a few goats or something. That was the kind of deal.
2 camels.
2 camels.
Grapefruits and the genetic jackhammer.
This is just so out of left field, though. I mean, like, all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're having this event, Greatest Royal Rumble. And I'm like, all right, what? It's not the great... No, it just, like, came out of nowhere. And I'm like, I really want to know, like, what that inside info was to where something had to happen saying, hey, come over here, we're going to give you this amount. It was such a money deal. You know what I mean? Like, Vince is making a lot of money off of this. There's no question about it. Putting these names together on this, and what's going to be interesting, I think, mostly importantly, is that Brock Lesnar. What happens after this match with him? Because yes, he quote unquote re-signed, but did he re-sign a regular deal, or was it just an extension to get to the Saudi Arabia show to lose the belt to Roman? And then so on and so forth.
There's so many rumors. There's so many rumors going out, and I don't know what to believe. Like I read one thing that he signed a multi-year deal, and then I read another thing that he only signed a deal that's gonna give him at least 2 matches, and then he's done. And you're looking at a match in Saudi Arabia, and you're possibly looking at SummerSlam, and he's out the door. I kind of hope it's the 2-match deal. I want Brock gone. I'm one of those guys that, like, I'm tired of it. You're tying up my Monday Night Raw. It's him and Roman. I'm sick of it. I want to see some new faces in the title picture. So I'm hoping it's a short-term deal.
Well, last 2 things. I want to give you 2 scenarios, Cooter and then Mike. If this happens, all right, first off, Cooter, what happens, A, if Brock wins? And that's it. What happens if Brock retains at the Saudi Arabia show? What happens?
It's not going to happen because it's the only place in the world, potentially, where there will be a legit video without any editing with Roman holding up a belt and him not getting booed out of the fucking building.
Well, that's my question to Mike, though.
Part of the plan. I think part of the plan is Let's get this title change. Let's get it in front of a crowd that'll appreciate Vince's vision and fucking see if it carries back over to the States. No, it's not. We don't like terrorism.
Just imagine if like those fans
are rabid.
Saw what the American fans do.
Well, that's my question. That was my question. Yeah. What happens if they do boo them, Mike, and he wins, and they just boo the shit out of him? Like,
this
what happens?
Another example of Vince fucking up,
freaking out. He's gonna be freaking. He's like, oh my God, run an audible. No, Brock.
Mute.
Brock must pose. Brock must pose.
Mute the crowd.
Oh my goodness.
Mute the crowd now.
God, forget
play the audio.
Crowd mics at Mania.
Play the audio. I have. Play the audio, and it's like an American fucking crowd chanting.
Oh man, that's
you deserve it.
Anything happening Friday? That's all I want to see is the crowd reaction. I just want to see that crowd reaction. That's what I'm looking forward to, and it's on at like 12 p.m. guys. Pre-show at 11 a.m. So get ready if wherever you are Friday.
Yeah, I'll be watching. I will be. You know what? And here's the thing too. So I have this thing called a job. So I mean, like I won't be catching it, and then after work, my ass is going to see the Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, that's right.
This is a little more important than sitting down for 5 hours watching the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. So I will be catching it on my day off on Saturday.
There you go.
I will probably skim through the shit that is boring, and I will watch, what's important.
Oh, shit. I literally got into a fight with somebody at work over this today, too.
The greatest Royal Rumble?
Yeah, well, because I wanted to take the day off, and he goes, well, you can't ask permission. He says, there's nobody to cover, these shifts. He says, both my parents are having LASIK surgery that day. I'm like, LASIK surgery? Who gives a fuck? I said, greatest Royal Rumble at noon, bitch. You better be back at work over here so I can fucking at least go and, watch this shit on my phone for a few minutes. Don't be a dick, you selfish bastard. Fuck your LASIK surgery for your parents. I don't give a fuck.
There you go.
I was kind of mean, but and then I realized what kind of a douche I was being. I said, listen, if you just buy me a pack of cigarettes and a 12-pack of beer, I'll watch it on replay and we'll call it even.
Well, there you go. There is a kindness to the angry one, I guess, after all.
As long as there's free beer involved, yes.
Well, there you go. Guys, stay tuned. We have Brandon Kirk joining us from CZW. We're going to talk a little bit about death matches.
What do you mean stay tuned? It's coming up now, bitch.
All right, joining us today is a guy who does something I don't have the balls to do. Brandon Kirk is here. Brandon, man, a CZW mainstay. Thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, no problem. What's going on? How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, you do a lot of stuff that a lot of people just don't want to do or just can't do. You know what I mean? So, tell us real quick. I mean, before we get into some of this hardcore stuff, some of this deathmatch wrestling, how did it all start, Brandon? I mean, it had to all start somewhere. Was it I wanted to be a professional wrestler, or was it I wanted to do these kind of deathmatch style wrestling?
Never in my wildest dreams did I ever expect to be doing the things that I'm doing right now.
Huh.
I've always, like anybody in this business, they've had the dream of being a professional wrestler. Like that's what they want to do. And that's what I wanted to do. And I guess you could say it started about 2 years ago. There was a company that was running a deathmatch show and wasn't on it. But somebody called off last minute. I got a message from the promoter, and he's like, do you want to be involved in this match? And I said, I guess. What kind of match is it? He's like, well, it's a no-rope barbed wire match. I said, sure. Why not? I've always, in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do it once. I'll see if I like it. If not, then, at least I can say that I did it. At least I can say that I did at least one death match in my career.
Sure. And,
I had the no rope barbed wire match. It was with Jimmy Lloyd, he's a CZW and GCW guy. And it was it was a very different experience. It was the first time I ever bled in a match. It was the first time I ever did anything even remotely close to, death match stuff. Like I did hardcore stuff before that, like, chairs and ladders and stuff like that. But this was like to the extreme. And, after I did it, I was like, God, that was awful. But I kind of want to do it again.
There you go.
And like, just from there, I was like, I just got like that itch, and I was like, I kind of want to do this now, like see where it goes. So
sure.
that's kind of how I got into it.
All right. Well, even into that, I mean, you were trained, correct me if I'm wrong, by Corey Havoc, Nikki Oceans, and Danny Demento.
Yes.
Now, tell me, how did you get training with them? Was it something that they had a school going on? You met up with them, or was it something else?
It was more like just kind of before shows, really. One of my buddies, Eddie Franken, he wrestles for WrestlePro. I was friends with him for a long time, and he was a professional wrestler. And I was like, how do I get involved in this? Like, I just wanted to get involved. He's like, just show up at the show. It was like this local carny indie promotion,
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of showed up at a show one day, and like guys like Corey Havoc and Nikki Oceans and D'Amato, they weren't like so much running classes and training, but just like kind of teaching new guys that would come in and just, teach them how to bump and just do all that stuff. So that's kind of like the training that I was doing with them. And it was mostly Corey Havoc. Corey Havoc was like kind of running training classes before shows. So like, that's like where I got most of my training. And then after that, I kind of transferred over to going to the CZW school, most of the time, training with guys like Joe Gacy and Rory Gulak and guys like that.
Oh, nice. Now, so you've been doing probably the hardcore stuff for the past 2-3 years, you would say?
Yeah, it's just about 2 years now. I started in December 2016 doing deathmatch stuff.
All right. So, but even before that, I mean, you were just doing regular wrestling, right? I mean, it's called regular matches.
That's pretty much, yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, this transformation into hardcore wrestling now, I know you've been in it for just a few years, but I always like to ask people that do this, is there an end game for you as far as the hardcore style, or is it something, hey, I'm just going to, I don't know, I just want to keep doing kind of thing? I'm always curious about that.
I feel like at this point, like, I'm just kind of going with the flow. It's, just like, it's something that I realize that I'm actually relatively good at. And, I've kind of built a name for myself doing stuff like this. And like, once I like really started getting into it and like making a name for myself in the deathmatch world, mm-hmm. I set goals for myself. And like, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do, like even before I started deathmatch wrestling, like in the back of my mind, I was like, I just want to be in Tournament of Death. It's, the big deathmatch tournament that CZW runs every year. It's a big famous deathmatch tournament. And that's what I want to do. That was my main goal.
You've been in a lot of these death matches already. Is there something for you? It's almost like a multi-part question, but let me just start with one of them. Is there something that maybe that's come up, you've been asked to do, that you were like, I don't think I'm going to do that, but has there been a lot of crazy stuff that you guys talk about doing, and you're just, I don't know, I would probably say no to everything, but anything that come up for you? Or
in my mind, I say no to everything, but I end up doing it anyway because I'm just stupid. I mean, yeah, there's a handful of things. Like, for the most part, I'm really willing to do almost anything, but there's a couple things, like the needles. Like, there's,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen in Tournament of Death, like, yeah. There's a spot where DJ Hyde sticks syringes in Thumbtack Jack's mouth. And right away, I'm like, nope, not doing that.
Oh, man.
The glass and the tubes are, they're fine. But things that, like, stick in me, I mean, tacks are okay, too. But, like, things like needles and, I don't know, do you know what a Kenzon is?
I don't, so I'm gonna have to Google it. But maybe you could tell me.
It's like, if you Google it, you'll see it, and it's horrifying. But it's like this little round metal plate with like spikes sticking out of it.
Oh man!
And they use it for like plants, and like people have like stuck it in their heads and stuff like that. And I'm just like, nope, I'm good.
Oh,
One
man.
thing, if you really want to look at, like, I don't know if you want to like watch it or not, but if you go, like, Vice did a documentary on Tournament of Death. And if you go and look at that, Jeff Cannonball, after Tournament of Death, had a Kenzon in his head. And they legitimately had to rip it out with pliers. And just the crunching sound of it coming out of his skull has, like, scarred me for life. So I'm definitely not doing that.
Man, wow. Crazy, man. Well, how about this? I mean, you've been doing it for a few years, though. Have you gotten, like, what was maybe the worst injury you had so far? Is there anything crazy, or just, I mean, anything you could expect, I guess, from glass and all that other stuff?
It's up in the air. Like anything, anything could happen. Like glass, like it just, it breaks the wrong way and it could slice you open, or light tubes that can slice you open. For the most part, I've been lucky enough to where I haven't gotten any like serious injuries, because I try to be as safe with it as humanly possible. I mean, the worst thing I got is I did match at CZW with Jimmy Lloyd, and after I got thrown off of scaffold, I landed on I guess a bunch of 2x4s with barbed wire and glass, and the glass just kind of like cut a pretty nice hole in my hand. But other than that, I haven't had anything bad, thank God.
Man, so yeah, I mean, we're in New York, so like there's different rules for wrestling in New York, to where they have like the New York Athletic Commission. You have to have like a certain amount of mats down. They have to have somebody come inspect it, yada yada. I know like Connecticut's different.
Guardrails too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
New York requires guardrails.
Yeah, yep. And I know Jersey's different, Connecticut's different, but for you, what are like, I don't know, what are the rules in Jersey for like deathmatch wrestling? And is it something medical staff has to be there, right? Do you guys have, I mean, like guys with like ambulances and stuff, or is I don't know how it works.
Yeah. For the deathmatch shows, yeah. Like regular shows, you don't have to. I guess in New York, you're required to have a doctor at the show.
Yeah, yep.
Jersey, you don't have to. Like regular shows, you don't have to. Guardrails aren't required, stuff like that. Deathmatch is really the only like big rule that I know of, is you're not technically supposed to use light tubes in Jersey. I guess, I don't know if the fire marshal doesn't allow them, whatever, because I guess the toxic gas that comes out of them. Other states like Delaware or Pennsylvania, they don't really care, but that's really like the main rule in Jersey. You're not allowed to use light tubes, but some companies get away with it.
Well, I wanted to get to too is like, have you talked to anybody from like I don't know, an ambulance on standby or whatnot? Are they not wrestling fans? Do they go to these shows and we're like, what are you guys doing? Kind of, like
sometimes CCW has like their own like medical staff. Like they have EMTs that are there every show, and they're fans of the product too.
Oh, okay.
So they're used to doing all this stuff. So like when guys get hurt, like especially like at Tournament of Death, they have a medical staff that's always there. So they're prepared for it. They're prepared to be wrapping people up and taping and gluing and all that shit.
Man, I would love to bring somebody who's not a fan and like it's their first day on the job for like an EMT, and like, oh, hey, you got to work the CZW show. Like, oh, okay, what is that? Oh, well, you'll see.
Horrifying.
I would love that. That'd be a good thing to film, I think, for something for you guys. But all right, so you have the Tournament of Death in June. How does one prepare for a Tournament of Death? I mean, is it something that like you kind of figure out what you want to bring that night, or what? How does this work?
I don't know. It's just it's really just something like I just like been taking time to just mentally prepare for, because there's multiple rounds of it. So if I go through the first round, second round, and into the finals, like I'd have to prepare to do 2-3 death matches. So it's just like a mental preparation kind of thing. It's just like, okay, I can do this. Like there's really not much to, you can't really prepare for stuff like that.
Sure. So I mean, even some of these big fights, all I'm thinking about is like, crap. Like, do you like tape like your wrists really good, or like, I mean, yeah. I know the wrestlers tape their wrists, but I mean, other than that, like, you're gonna like make sure this vein doesn't come out tonight, kind of thing. Like
basically, I mean, like especially when I'm involved in that, like I've done a lot of barbed wire stuff, and barbed wire, I don't know if you even like have any encounters with barbed wire, but that shit sucks. Like barbed wire, like glass breaks or whatever, it can cut you up, but barbed wire sticks in you, and it's really tough to get out. So like if I have tape, like I'm taping my whole, like halfway up my forearm onto my hand just to protect stuff like that. So I normally wear as much tape as possible when I'm doing stuff like that.
Oh, sure. Now, what do you think about like people too? Like, some actors and whatnot get typecast into a role, like, oh, he's always going to be the superhero guy or whatnot. Yeah. Do you feel like there's like that deathmatch guy stigma people have, to where like, oh, he can only do death matches kind of a thing?
Definitely. I get it all the time. just like whether it's fans or other wrestlers or promoters that are just like, promoters that don't want to book me because they think I'm a deathmatch guy or they think I'm going to come to their show and bleed and do stuff like that. But like, I pride myself on being what I like to consider a hybrid wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I can do the deathmatch stuff, but I can hang with, any wrestler. Like, I was just in CZW's Best of the Best this year, and just a lineup of some of the best wrestlers in the world, and I feel I can hold my own against guys like that. So, that stigma is always going to be there, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like, people can kind of think what they want to think, but I know that, if you think that I'm just a deathmatch guy, but then if you come to a show and you see me in a regular match, you're going to be like, oh, okay, he can go. I like to be able to prove that to people, so people can have that stigma. But if you come and watch me, you'll see that that's not the case.
Sure. Now, you're preparing for death matches coming up, but you've done a lot of things with glass, nails, tubes, and so on and so forth. I've seen a lot of your matches, and it's. Yeah. I mean, I give you props, man. A lot of crazy stuff, and I wouldn't do it, but I give you props for doing it. But is there anything that you just haven't done yet you still want to do as far as like death matches? Is there something that's like, well, I haven't done that yet? Maybe, is there anything that you can still bring to the next level, if you will?
Oh, man. I mean, like,
how do you up the notch sometimes death matches? Because they are crazy in themselves.
Yeah,
on their own.
It's tough. I mean, like, as soon as I got into CZW, like my first, I think it was my second show, I did a squared circle of sacrifice, which is basically no padding, no rope barbed wire, and scaffold. So like, it's really hard to top things like that. But I feel like I'm aiming more towards like getting in the ring with certain guys as opposed to types of death matches. Like, there's a handful of guys that I would love to just to get in the ring with. Guys like Masada, who's like one of the top deathmatch guys in the world. I'd love to get in there with Matt Tremont again. It's mostly just like different guys that I would love to get in the ring with.
Sure. I mean, there's so much wrestling in our area. I mean, you're in Jersey, I'm in New York. There's a lot of companies, a lot of shows going on. So sometimes it's hard to keep up with everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
But
and everybody wants to run their own promotion. There's so many promotions.
I know. So it's like we're spoiled over here because some people just don't have that like in the rest of the country. But I went to a show. I went to a show a few years ago. It was called Interspecies Wrestling. It was in Danbury, Connecticut. And it wasn't as far as like deathmatch wrestling, but they did have a match called the Lego Death Match, and it was all Legos on the ground. People would bring like their own Legos, like they would make like the Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty. They would bring like these big, and they would use it. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm cringing at it, just like it's nails or tacks or anything. I'm like, I know how it's like I could relate to that pain or something. I'm like, man, you guys.
Here's a little fun fact for you. Legos are worse than thumbtacks.
Oh,
and you wouldn't think so, but they are, because thumbtacks, they stick in you, but they come right out and they're small and they don't really hurt that much. But every one of us, at least at some point in our life, has experienced whether stepping on a Lego or like kneeling on one by accident, and it hurts. And like getting slammed or anything on top of Legos is like by far worse than anything that I've ever done.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, for your death match in June, I'm saying you could surprise your opponent and bring out some Legos or something, because I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit different, but you might get a reaction for it. But Brandon, man, I mean, congratulations. Also, I heard. I don't know if it's okay we could bring it up, but you did also recently get engaged.
I did.
Congratulations with that. And how does the missus feel about you? The future missus feel about you in these death matches? Is it something she supports, or is she something she's against?
I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of both. Like, she just, I mean, she's always supportive of everything that I do, regardless of what it is. Like, she came to my last match against Matt Tremont in the Tangled Web death match, and I know she didn't want to, but she came just to support me because she knew it was important to me. So she knows it's important to me, but then on the other side, she's like, why are you doing this shit? And she, like, of course, she doesn't want to see me get hurt and stuff like that. So it's like, there's both. There's there's
Sure.
two sides to it.
Sure. Well, Brandon, everybody listening out there, like I said, any promoter out there, like you can. Like, I don't think you have that. I mean, I understand that stigma people have of being that deathmatch guy, but I know you definitely don't have it. You are a talented wrestler. I hope everybody who hears this or sees you definitely gives you a chance other places. But where can people listening to this for the first time find out more info about you and where they can see you next?
Thanks. Twitter, I'm the real_Kirk. Instagram, I'm the real_Brandon Kirk. And then you can see me, I believe in May, I'll be at CZW. And then a couple other promotions. But if you follow me on social media, you can see all the places that I'm going. I have a list of all my future bookings. So just follow me on social media.
Perfect. And it's 2018. Just Google Brandon Kirk. I'm sure we'll find you online too.
Yeah, all you got to do.
Perfect, Brandon. Thank you so much, man. We wish you nothing but the best.
All right, thanks, Steve. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Angry Cooter, and it's time for the must-see matches of the week, a.k.a. the Angry Cooter mixtape. I'm going to make this short and sweet this week. On Raw, I give the nod to the ladies. Bayley and Sasha Banks fucking just tore the house down. Usual fashion. For SmackDown, I had to go Shelton Benjamin versus Jeff Hardy. Nice to see Shelton starting a singles run against another wily veteran like Jeff Hardy. This was fun. I think this was... I mean, I'll throw an honorable mention out there to AJ and Bryan versus Rusev and English, but for me, the match of the night was Jeff Hardy and Shelton. 205 Live. If you didn't see this Tornado Tag match, oh my God, please. The Lucha was, what are they called? The Lucha House Party versus Hideo Itami and Akira Tozawa. This was just fucking mayhem from bell to bell. This is a must-see match, definitely. Probably my favorite of the week. And on NXT, I can't believe I'm giving Lars Sullivan a match of the week on NXT. And God damn, versus Killian Dane. This was some kind of a street fight or no disqualification match. These two just beat the living shit out of each other. And you know me, I love carnage, so there you go. And that is the Angry Cooter mixtape, bitches. The must-see matches.
We talked a lot about the shakeup that happened. Let's talk about something else that kind of has to probably do with the shakeup. And it's called about, reinventing your gimmick, if you will. I know CM Punk once said that, you kind of have to change with the times and reinvent yourself every so often, as he did as well. A quote from Ferris Bueller: "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." Guys, a lot of guys, their gimmicks, do they have to change with the times? I mean, some gimmicks, they can't last forever, or they can. I mean, look at The Undertaker, but even he reinvented himself at a time where, things are starting to get a little bit more real with the Attitude Era. So he kind of went to his biker gimmick, but then came back after, Vince pretty much owned everything. But then, even some kind of just expand in time. I mean, look at the New Day. Remember their first promo video? It was a bunch of choir boys or preachers, and it looked like, it definitely didn't look like it was going to turn into unicorns and fucking cereal.
And pancakes. Don't forget the pancakes, baby.
And pancakes. Guys, just something like that. Do you think it's important for all the wrestlers or maybe certain wrestlers to kind of just keep reinventing themselves?
I think Vince needs to stop making gimmicks. I think he sees certain guys as your top guys because they're big fucking sweaty men, right, Mike? This is again, I keep stealing your shit. But I look at somebody like Bobby Lashley, who was poised to be that first major African-American superstar with a potential to be a world champion, trying to be a babyface, a guy who's not really the greatest talker. It's always been said to me by certain people that it's easier to be a heel and get over as a heel than it is as a face. And I think that's something that Bobby Lashley should probably take on. I believe that he took that on a little bit in TNA. I heard he's a hell of a lot more watchable as a heel than he is as a face. So I think I think that would be interesting. I'd like to see a heel fucking Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley was good in TNA because he had MVP as his mouthpiece, and those two worked good together. And MVP is free right now; he ain't got no job. So, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's good for people to reinvent themselves. I mean, look at Drew McIntyre. He was the chosen one, and then he went to 3MB and then left and then came back, and now he's this guy who's believable. Matt Hardy reinvented himself into the broken one. And then it helps you evolve with the times. I mean, people complain about why Randy Orton is so stale. Randy Orton never reinvented himself. He was the same guy since Evolution, pretty much. I mean, yeah, he called himself the Legend Killer.
Then he went to the Apex Predator.
He hasn't. I mean, he's still the same guy. To me, he's always been the same guy. At least a guy like John Cena reinvented himself. He went from the basic thugonomics to whatever he is, a white guy in jorts. To the face of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, to Mr. TVPG. I think a guy's, and as much as I'm a Finn Balor fan, I love Finn Balor. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. I think he should reinvent himself in some way or form to kind of get himself over. Maybe go to the heel side. Instead of doing a demon, give me, if they can get the licensing for it, give me some Marvel characters like he did on the Indies. Give me something cool. I mean, the demon character is cool, and I'm happy they don't do it all the time. But I want to see something different. I want to see something crazy. I mean, I remember the one show he came out as the Joker, which was fucking awesome. And another show he came out as Bane, which is pretty cool too. So it's like he mixes it up like that. I want to see stuff like that. I mean, there's so many other guys on the roster. I don't want to ramble on all night about it. But I think there's a lot of guys that can use a reinvention. One guy being Seth Rollins.
No, for sure. Real quick though, reinventing yourself, reinventing your gimmick, adding a little different, more perspective of what these guys are doing. What do you guys think about, like Jinder Mahal, reinventing your body? I mean, if you put those before and after comparisons together, I mean, whether it was off the sauce or straight up lifting kind of thing, whatever it was, he definitely changed his body around, and look what it got him. I mean,
he definitely changed his body around. He needs some fucking Proactive.
he got a champion. He got 2 championships out of it: the WWE Championship and the United States Championship just recently. Guys, what about guys just upping their game, I guess? I mean, they are on TV. They are going to be seen all over the world, but just making yourself bigger than what you are, I guess. Whether you're doing hardcore in the gym or what, but do you think reinventing yourself physically like that can go a long way?
Absolutely. Look at a guy like Braun Strowman. He was a little bit pudgy as a rosebud, and in his initial run with the Wyatts. I mean, he was looked like he was probably way bigger than what he was. I mean, especially in that midsection region. He kind of thinned out a little bit, kept his size, but leaned out a little bit, looked great. Here, there's a great example of it would be the Big Show. It's too bad he didn't do that fucking 10 years ago. He would have been on top of the fucking industry, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't think Jinder's on any juice, man. If he was on juice, he would have busted a while ago. And, reinventing yourself in the gym, especially with Vince McMahon, how he likes his big sweaty men, and that's so. I mean, if you go out there and you look like Jinder from 3MB, and then you come back looking like Jinder present day, you're going to get a title push. You're definitely getting a title run, definitely.
Now, do you think the guys or girls or whatnot need to redo themselves every year, or how often do you think it needs to? It's because it just change while the world changes, I guess. I mean, do you think it's just play by ear kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think it should be every year. I think you should start thinking about stuff once the act is starting to get stale and you're not getting over. Once you realize that your act and your gimmick has ran its course, you start thinking of something and come up with some new ideas, something that can keep you as a performer going and in that main roster and in that threshold of like a main event scene or mid card scene, and you don't. The worst thing you could possibly do is not adapt and reinvent yourself or do something, and then you end up on Superstars or main event.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there.
Exactly. It's like the New Day. They went from cereal to pancakes, baby.
They love their breakfast.
Now, let me ask you this question, Cooter. Finn Balor, Prince Devitt. I became a fan of him just because of the body paint. Every time you saw him wrestle, it was different body paint. Came
body paint.
Come on, body paint.
Men.
Came into, hey, I would have minded on other ladies too, but going with what we have. Finn Balor, body paint all the time, made him different, made himself stand out from everybody else. Comes to the WWE, only sticks to one body paint and does it every so often. Do you think that hurt him or helped him as his own character? Because, Finn Balor's an amazing athlete. Don't get me wrong. He could wrestle. He could do whatever he wants without the body paint. But do you feel like that reinvention of himself, taking away the thing that made him big, hurt him?
No, not at all. Because this isn't the first time you've seen a superstar who had an alter ego, or maybe even two alter egos, or maybe even three. Look at somebody like Foley, who had a Cactus Jack, he had a Mankind, and he had a Dude Love. He would just switch throughout these characters, different parts of his WWE tenure, just to stay fresh. You went from body paint to a guy who pops his collar every 5 seconds walking down the ramp. How awesome is that? And next thing you know, we got a rainbow painted on his ass. Fantastic. They really absolutely know what they're doing with Finn Balor. Listen, don't sit there and say what I want to say. It's not my fault. Listen, let me ask you a question. How would you feel if Shinsuke Nakamura were to have the body paint on him? Just saying. Would you still think it was cool then, or would you not think it's cool because he's Japanese?
It depends on who gets it, kind of a thing.
He actually did the body paint in Japan once.
Don't step on the punchline, dude.
You know who needs a reinvention? I think Bailey. I think she needs a reinvention. Maybe she can wrestle in body paint.
There you go.
How about that? Just the bottoms and in body paint. I've seen women in body paint before where they spray the tits so it looks like there's something there, but they're really fucking flowing freely, bra free, shirtless. Bailey can do that.
Well, that's
just have her titties out everywhere, paint and shit like that. By the end of the match, it's all going to be sweaty and the paint's going to be smeared off. We might get to see.
Vince, can you please pitch this to Bailey?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good example though, Bailey, to where, and it's the NXT syndrome we've talked about a handful of times, to where it worked great on NXT. You come to the main roster, it doesn't work, so you have to.
It worked for a while. It just got stale.
Yeah, it was stale fast too, because her thing with NXT was fine, but then when you come up here, it can only last for so long. And what do you do with her? It's like you have to do something totally different. I don't know.
We're going to spray your tits with body paint and put you in a mixed tag team with Zack Ryder.
Well, as much as we talk about it, too, I'm curious out there just to let everybody know, once again, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Let us know who you think should be reinvented. Tweet us at @WrestlingPod, Facebook, Another Wrestling Podcast. Comment, let us know so we can talk about it next time. But guys, anybody else about reinventing themselves? Before we go, does anybody else stand out that maybe that's in need of it? Because we mentioned Finn Balor from body paint to now. Sami Zayn was a guy, El Generico, who had a great gimmick and a mask, came to WWE and NXT, took off the mask, and had to really find himself. He had to really think about who the hell he was or what kind of gimmick he is, you know what I mean? And he still has a kind of crazy gimmick where it's not really a gimmick. He has a lot of stuff going on with
How have we not talked about somebody who's probably been the best ever at reinventing himself? Would be Chris fucking Jericho.
Yeah, man.
How many times guy from going to the suit and tie as like a corporate champion almost, to now a guy who wears a scarf and walks around with a fucking clipboard, to the guy who, when he debuted, was Y2J, this fucking just amazing.
One of the greatest, the reinventing himself.
This is somebody who stayed fresh all the time. But you're talking about somebody who needs a serious upgrade. Can we just can we do something different with the Ascension?
Ugh.
Because I really did enjoy them as a team in NXT. I really thought they were great.
Yeah.
I just hated how they flopped when they got to the main roster. They really weren't given an opportunity. They were given a shitty gimmick. You got to find something for these guys. I mean, you can't have them. It's crazy because you did put Breezango back there, and they were their like best friends on SmackDown. I mean, just give them something. I mean,
you bring up Breezango, and that's another team that I'm over. And I think I want to see
them in
something.
that tag division that's being seemingly built on 205 Live. They would be perfect for that.
Is Fandango in weight? I mean, I don't know what their weights are. I mean, they're billed at 200 and something. I mean, they're always billed higher than what they actually weigh. And you saw what they did to Buddy Murphy this past 205 Live, where he weighed in at like 207 and said he couldn't compete. I did not know that these 205 pounders have to make weight every week. Sucks for them. And then
we've only seen video footage of Buddy Murphy having to make weight.
Yeah,
we don't see somebody like Cedric having to make weight.
Cedric looks like he looks a little bigger than 205.
He looks like he's back at like 215, 220 again.
Well, you bring that up,
it was only one way in. I thought it was only one way in when you come to the division, and that's it. I guess apparently these guys are weighing in all the time.
Well, nobody's weighing fucking Akira Tozawa, okay, or fucking Jack Gallagher.
Well, that's the thing, too, is reinventing the gimmick, reinvent the show, because they kind of painted themselves in the corner by calling it 205 Live. If you would have just called it the Cruiserweight division, you would never have to worry about that number or the weight.
I want to see a weigh-in with Tony Nese, okay? You're going to fucking put out Buddy Murphy? I want Tony Nese on that damn scale.
Yes.
Put him on the scale. He is not 205.
He's short, though.
I don't care. He's not. I want a fair weigh-in with that jacked motherfucker.
How much do you actually think he weighs?
What do you think Wikipedia says? His build weight is 196.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's a short guy, dude.
Is he short? What's his height?
He's short.
He is like 5'9".
Yeah, I was gonna say like 5'8", 5'9".
So it's almost 6 feet.
That's shorter than me, bro, and I'm a fucking mental midget. I mean, a midget. Mental midget too. I am dumb as a box of shit, a box of rocks. Wait, what's that saying? I fucked it up again. But yeah, he's a short dude, bro.
Still want him on the scale.
Well, reinventing yourselves, guys. I don't know. We talked about it. We did it.
Jesus, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're talking about reinvention, and I just said the name of a guy who reinvented himself in Buddy Murphy.
It's true too.
Yeah, the best kept secret. I mean, he was the dubstep cadets, as our fallen soldier Enzo like to call him all the time when they're down in NXT. Yeah, and then he comes up and reinvents himself into this guy.
And I think that's a great classification of reinventing yourself while getting pushed, because he was in the tag team, and then it was literally just sitting on the shelf, and then someone's like, well, hell, let's just use him, and kind of thing. They give him that green light, and look what happens. So it's a part of the green light gimmick push, I guess, if you can. The reinventing yourself while getting pushed. A lot of good things we talked about. So we'll have to go back to reinventing the gimmick and see who else that needs a little bit of a facelift down the line, guys. But it's a whole new landscape now. Should be.
I gotta ask you a favor, real quick. Can you do me a favor and put Mustafa Ali's theme song on the list of Credo, please? Because I personally hate that. I just had to throw that out there randomly.
Well, I'll have to go dig it up, and I'll have to see if it meets the qualifications to be on the list.
It's fucking atrocious. Go hard, it's a fucking. It's so bad. It's fucking this looped fucking CFO bullshit. I mean, some of the stuff he does is great, but Jesus fucking Christ, that shit is fucking obnoxious. Go hard. Shut the fuck up. Can you imagine Vince trying to sing that theme song?
I'ma go hard. I'm hard. I'ma go.
I love it.
Bailey's titties.
Greatest Royal Rumble. I'ma go hard. There we go. Go hard.
Jesus Christ, I apologize for any Indian listeners.
I don't know if that's even Saudi. It's just, I don't know what that is.
Indian, Saudi, whatever it is. I mean, like, we're attacking Mustafa Ali.
I'm not
questioning
social assassins.
I'm attacking his theme song. I'm not attacking the man.
The social assassins. I love it, guys. Attacking every race, gender, creed. Doesn't matter where you're from, what music you like, whether you have 7 wives, 2 camels, or the greatest Royal Rumble. We'll be there for you.
Why the fuck would you go to Saudi Arabia to have a pay-per-view on a Friday in the middle of the fucking day?
I don't know. Money? Makes me wonder how much of the card the Saudis had to approve of to begin with.
You mean like Mustafa Ali's theme music?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything? He's not even on the fucking card!
That shit's fucking terrible.
I'ma go hard, I'ma go